So I just recently got scuba certified. Here are my diver cards, and pretty fancy. And I just would like to walk you through the process of exactly how the class is laid out and everything that I personally experienced while getting certified to be a scuba diver. So the first thing that I did was go to my nearest dive center, which for me is about 25 minutes away, and I just walked in, told them I was interested in getting signed up for one of the classes, and right away they had something the very next month, so that worked out really well. And I went ahead, paid them the money, and signed up for a class the very next month. And I didn't buy my equipment that day. I did go back for it 2 weeks afterwards, but that day they did send me the login credentials. There's an online module that you have to complete. So we got the course date set for my actual in-pool session, and I received my email with my online course module credentials so that I could go ahead and immediately start working on that. So the online course module is, I think, 16 units is what it was for me. I did the SDI program, and when you log into it, it's just like any other online module. There's multiple units with multiple chapters, and some of them have videos that you just watch through, and then at the end of each unit there's a unit quiz, and it's all questions that are going to be on the final exam portion. If I'm not mistaken, the final exam was about 60 or 65 questions. It really wasn't that bad, and if you actually go through the modules and read the information and watch the videos, it was a very easy test. I think I only missed 2 questions. So yeah, the online module, they give you plenty of time to do it unless you're signing up for a class that's in like 2 days, which I would not recommend because it took me multiple days to get through the 16 units. It actually was rather time consuming, but it wasn't because it was necessarily difficult. It was just a lot of information. So I would recommend not trying to cram for it in a very fast period of time, and giving yourself a little bit of time to actually process the information and correct any errors that you have in those end of course modules, in the tests at the end of the course modules. So next I did go and I got my personal equipment. They do require that you have your own boots, mask, fins, and snorkel. So I can go ahead and show you mine. I got these boots. They do not have zippers. They did have some that had zippers, but I opted for just the slip-ons. These have kind of a rough sole, so they're a little bit thicker, so that if you step on something sharp like a piece of glass, it's unlikely to penetrate all the way to your foot and hurt you. These are just neoprene. They're pretty comfortable, and they have lots and lots of styles to choose from. And the next thing is my snorkel. There's not a lot of snorkeling in the class, but it is part of the modules and part of the exercises that you do in class. I think we did like 2 or 3 exercises with the snorkel, so it is something that you have to buy, and it is a good information to know. So this is mine. It's just black. I got one with this little splash guard at the top so that you don't get too much water in there whenever you're breathing through it, and it is definitely a handy piece of equipment to have. These are my fins. They're nice and pink, easy to see under the water, so if the water clarity isn't too bad, then it's pretty easy to see people in front of you. But if the water clarity is suffering a little bit because of stir up on the bottom or because the top of the water is choppy, then it can be kind of difficult to see people in front of you. So I opted to get brighter fins so that I would be easier to see under the water. The cool thing about these fins in particular is that there is a little screw on the side right here that you can undo, and these actually will come apart so that they're easier to store when you're traveling. And you just put your boots on, slide your boot in here and pull this over the back of your heel, and they are very, very secure. They're not going anywhere. So I really like these fins. And my mask matches. So the mask comes in this little carrying case. You just pop the bottom off and your mask comes out. My mask matches my fins. I did get a mask with side view. That just gives you a little bit extra peripheral vision. It's definitely not necessary, but I wanted to have the most, I don't know, the most vision I could underwater. So I got some that are a little bit more extended on the sides, and you have that peripheral vision so that you can just see around you a little bit better. I purchased separately this little piece that velcros across the back of your mask strap. That way it doesn't pull your hair. And then I also bought this from the shop, which is just a thin little piece of material that keeps your mask from kind of sliding down, and also keeps your hair back if you have long hair, or if you have hair that's long enough to get in your face. It kind of acts like a hairband. So those things are not necessary. They're not part of your personal equipment that are required for the class. They're just things that I personally purchased because I thought they were neat and they worked for me. So if those are not concerns for you, then don't worry about it. The next thing that I did after I got my personal equipment, and they'll sit you down and size you for all of it and go through all of the different specs for each one. They have a lot of options, or you don't even have to buy from the shop that you go to. You can get everything online if you wanted. But I just went and bought everything from the shop because it was easier for me. It was close, and there was somebody there to help me pick out my equipment and tell me the differences between all of it, because at the time I didn't really know much. So yeah, whatever works best for you. But after I picked out my equipment, I did go ahead and finish the online modules. And when I showed up to the class that day, they sat us down for the in-pool session, and you're just in this little classroom. They go over what you learned in the modules for maybe the first hour, hour and a half. The classes tend to be pretty small. Mine was pretty small. I think it was just 5 people total. My class also included nitrox, which is an advanced, or not necessarily an advanced, but like an extra certification. And mine just came with that. So I also got nitrox certified, which is what this card is for. So you can look and see if your dive center offers that option as well. Mine did. So we also went over that when we first got there, and we were in the classroom portion of it. We went over all those modules and also nitrox. Then when we got in the pool, it was very standard. Everyone got in. They showed us how to care for our tank, put all of our equipment together, your BCD, your regulator, everything that you needed. They showed us how to test the gases inside the tank to make sure that they were all where they needed to be. And then we just got in the pool and practiced the skills that we learned in the modules. It was very fun. It was very lighthearted. The instructors were wonderful, and the class was not too long. I think I was there for a total of 5 hours that day, and 5 hours the next day. So it was not like an all-day event where you're just there from sunrise to sunset. It was very much so, watch the instructors do the skill, then you do the skill. Once everyone does the skill proficiently, then you move on. We did go ahead and dive that day to the bottom of the pool, which was about 15 feet. And I have to tell you, my ears did get a little sore, a little tender. I got some waterlogged in there. So I would recommend taking precautions to prevent that, just by, you know, holding your nose and blowing out while you're going down, or also bringing some alcohol with you and putting some alcohol in your ears afterwards, because that'll dry up the water. So just kind of be prepared for that, because your ears might get a little clogged. But the pool was very fun. I was not expecting to have as fun in the pool as I did, but it was a very fun experience. My open water class was the following weekend, And the following weekend, we drove down to Spring Lake, which is a lake down in Austin, Texas. And we drove down there. It was a different instructor, but it was equally fun. We got in the lake the first day. The water clarity was excellent. You could see all the fish. You could see all of the lake vegetation. There were other scuba classes down there, so we got to say hi to some of the other classes and wave to them underwater. We practiced our dives to get in the water. We actually were able to wear our wetsuits because the water temperature was pretty cold. It was kind of hard getting into the wetsuit without a skin underneath. They sell these skins to wear under your wetsuits that kind of help them slide on a little bit easier. I did not have one. I did not think about it. I would not do it again. I definitely, before my next dive, will be buying a skin to go under my wetsuit because I actually kind of skinned some skin. I peeled some skin off my knuckles trying to get my neoprene on, and it was very difficult, especially once it's already wet. So that is a personal recommendation that I would say buy one of those skins to go under your neoprene so that it's a little easier to slide on and off, especially after you've already gotten in the water and the neoprene's already wet, and especially if your wetsuit is brand spanking new like mine was. So that is something that I would say. The second day, the water clarity was not as good. You could not see as much. It was a little bit harder to gauge how far from the bottom you were, gauge how far away people were from you, and if people got too far away, it was rather hard to actually see them or the fish or the plant life. So I would take that into consideration if you're wanting the water clarity to be good both days. Try to schedule your class on a weekend when the weather is probably going to be nice. The weekend that I went, we did have some rain, so that stirred up the water a little bit, stirred up the fish, so all of that material on the bottom got kind of filtered up through the lake, and it did make the water quality suffer. In between the 2 days that so it was 2 days in the pool and 2 days in the lake, so a total of 4 days diving. I was at least required to fill my tank up for the next day in between dives. There was a dive center down in Austin where I was able to take my tank and pay to have it refilled. I think it was only like $10. It was not bad, but I did have to pay park entrance fees to get into the lake. So I budgeted about $100 for the weekend so that I could pay entrance fees and get my tank refilled prior to going on my next dive. But yeah, that's just about it. It was a fun and mostly easy process. The instructors made it feel more like you were playing than anything else, which I think is an excellent way to learn. And now I have my cute little SDI cards with little pictures on the back, and I'm all certified and good, and yeah. So I would recommend getting scuba certified if you're thinking about it. Just go ahead and do it. I spent total between what I paid for the class and my personal equipment about $1,000. I don't know if that's average or standard, but that is what I paid here in Texas. So if you are not in Texas, it might be different, or if you want better equipment than me, it might be different, or depending on if you're going through SDI and if you're doing the nitrox, there are a lot of variables. So if you are wanting a quote before you get your classes all signed up for, then you can definitely ask. They gave me a quote before I did anything, and I'm sure it's probably going to be roughly the same if you're wanting the same certifications. And I got very basic equipment. It's not bad equipment, but it's not expert by any means. So yeah, if you have any other questions or if I missed anything, then please let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.